We are getting ready. We're not yet there. Are we there? We are going live. We're live. Is it we're live or we're going live?
Well, which one are you? Currently live, so we're live.
We're going to get into a song. We are live. The Canadian Show. Good morning. Coming in by TikTok. How art thou? What is that? I see that you have an icon beside your name that I don't understand. A triangle with the number 9 beside it. What does that mean? Are you ranking in my lives? Interesting. Oh, we have intro music that should be a little lower. Lots of stuff to talk about today. Actually, we always have lots of stuff to talk about. Jacob says good morning. Oh, we've got so many people. Robert comes in. Robert says handsome. He must be talking about you. Jay Craft Boys is in Instagram. You know, why? It's amazing that it's here. How's the audio on Instagram? Is that working well? I am the lost sheep asks, am I on duty? You made me say duty. Yes, I am on duty. This is actually at Traffic Services. This is the studio at Traffic Services. I'm a media relations officer and social media officer, and Ask a Traffic Cop is a show we host while I'm working, although I've been known to do it off duty as well. It's amazing. Good morning. My name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police constable with the Toronto Police Service. I am on duty because people want to know. And this is Ask a Traffic Cop, a show that we host Monday to Friday, although we won't be here this Thursday. Monday to Friday usually includes Thursdays, but not this week. And it's a show where you get to ask a traffic cop questions. I am that traffic cop for you. Let's talk about stuff. If you have questions, we've usually got answers. You can get those questions to us simply by going into the Q&A functionality on most platforms. Not all platforms, because some don't work. We'll get into that. If you're on TikTok, use the interact button, the Q&A button where you can drop your question in. We will select it from the list. We will put it onto the screen, and everyone will rejoice. Granted, you'll only see the questions on the platform you're on. So if you're on Instagram, same deal, question mark in a bubble, that's your Q&A. If you are watching on YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, just drop a comment into the live stream. We will see it regardless of what platform you are on. And we're also on Twitter, but I'm sorry to say that Twitter hasn't worked properly. And it's not an Elon Musk thing. It's before Elon. It is entirely since the what do you call it when they set Periscope off to die a slow death in the corner, and they created Twitter Live. And I don't know what the difference is, because all that changed was my ability to see people's comments. Just saying. Good morning to Leo wife, my wife. No, my wife. I got to pronounce things properly. Good morning. Good morning to Big Jeff Fresh, who got the memo that we were going on at 9 a.m. this week. Or not this week, but today. And this was a last-minute change. Apologies for those who like to sleep in and don't want to be here at 9 but prefer to be here at 10. The reason the show had to change is we have a guest, and we have to go somewhere where right in the time that the show would have been on normally. So that's all. That's a real deal. Let's see here. I'm going to jump right into things because we got questions, many from the same from the same person. Please only ask questions once. If you spam the chat, you will be muted. I don't want to do it. I don't want to mute. I don't want to be the policeman in the chat, but sometimes I have to be. It's all that thing about being a cop. Joining me in studio is Chris, a police officer from the United States, from the great state of, is it the great state of Washington State, or is it, what do you guys call yourselves in the state of Washington?
I think just Washington State. Yeah, I mean, you can call it the great state. They call it the evergreen state, but over half the state's geographically a desert with tumbleweeds. So
no kidding.
You know, we call it the evergreen state to trick people there. It's kind of like Greenland and Iceland are flopped, you know.
I heard a great song about that, making fun of that. No, it wasn't a great song. It was a great TikTok where this guy, anyway, I'll have to play it for you, but he talks about naming different things and why, and yeah. Let's see here. We got some questions coming in, but we're going to start with the ones from Up for This 6. Are blue fog lights legal? We had this question yesterday. No. You're only allowed to project the lights or light to the front of the vehicle in the colors of white or yellow in Ontario. And I think you had said white-blue range for Washington yesterday.
Correct, yeah, not a true blue. True blue is only reserved for law enforcement.
There you go. The white within the spectrum, blue within the spectrum of white, which is really just a hint of bluish. And that was really popular in the Xenon days.
Yeah.
just basically done. I don't think does anyone have xenon bulbs anymore?
I'm not sure. Sounds expensive.
And I think they were. Everything seems to have gone LED. And Leo, wife, says good morning to Chris.
Yes.
You get personalized greetings here.
Well, and I saw my wife jumped on there and say good morning to both of us. So.
Oh, good morning back.
Yeah.
Not a snow day, though.
Yesterday was a snow day. I don't know what's going to happen today. It's touch and go right now.
Well, it's 3 hours back, right? 3 hours.
It's only 6 a.m.
Oh,
so.
my. Oh, my. Well, it's awesome that 6 a.m. is worthy of wake up for the show. Here's a very serious question about traffic management of sorts. Do you actually take the cart back to the corral? Shopping cart. Do you put it in the little house?
Well, yeah, you do, because you're a good human being, right?
Yes.
And
I am not required to. There's no law
Yeah.
or risk of negative outcome. I sometimes it's because I have to get my loony back. We have coin operated ones, but I actually don't need that. I try and be a good human more often than not. While we're getting some really serious questions here, pineapple on pizza?
Yeah, it's called a Hawaiian.
Are you okay with it?
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Okay. I'll eat
I
pineapple.
don't know. Is that safe in Canada?
It's legal.
It's legal. Excellent.
It's legal. Just so you know, this is actually a traffic show, but we appreciate the off-topic questions now and again. Before we get too far into these questions, I want to mention and discuss and address the fact that we have something called the Vision Zero Enforcement Team. It might have been the theme of a video we had on yesterday about an unmarked vehicle doing enforcement. Yes, we have those. But what are those officers doing? Why are they where they are? Well, they're trying to change driver behavior. They do it one ticket at a time. No hugs are issued. They go to different areas of the city based on the information provided by analysts so they can be the most effective, do the most good. And where are they today? They are in 31 Division and 41 Division. Those are the neighborhoods of Black Creek, Humbermead, Glenfield, Downsview, Dorset Park, Kennedy Park, Birchcliff, and Cliffside. And that's not to say that's all of the neighborhoods. That's just a sampling of the neighborhoods that you might recognize that happen to be covered and serviced by those divisions that I mentioned. And we mention them because not everybody knows what a division is or what the boundaries are, but neighborhoods. And inside those neighborhoods are real people who deserve to be safe. They deserve to be safe, and they want you to be safe when traveling in their division, whether you live there, travel there, play there. They just want to be safe.
Yeah, we have something similar called Target Zero in Washington State with the same thought as what's the acceptable number of traffic-related deaths each year? Is one acceptable?
Right.
And when we had that conversation, they were wanting to reduce, but it really got down to, well, 0 is the only acceptable thing when all of these are preventable.
Well, that's
if we follow the traffic laws, people don't get killed.
It's amazing. We acknowledge, and Vision Zero is very much along the lines of what you're talking about. I think it's just a different name for the same plan.
Yeah.
And we acknowledge that minor fender benders happen. They're pretty much unavoidable.
It's called an accident.
Well, we don't use that terminology.
Okay.
It's poo. We can't say that word.
Okay, can't say it.
But they happen. Still likely because of somebody not paying 100% attention, but they happen. The ones that lead to serious injury and death, however, are completely and absolutely avoidable if you're following the law, if you're driving safely. There should be no collisions that lead to serious injury or death. So we agree. 0 is the only acceptable number for traffic-related deaths. And sadly, we see numbers that are similar to that of our homicides. We see way too many people dying on road deaths. And I don't have a count in front of me, but I think we're approaching 50 if we have not exceeded it. That's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Interesting. Ryan Pinn, our Nova Scotian driving instructor, says, fun fact, Hawaiian pizza was actually invented in Canada.
Wow.
I did not know that. And we have the Canada
show. It is
show.
Canadian bacon. They call it Canadian bacon and pineapple in Washington. So that's why it's Canadian.
Well, we have the Canadian show who is watching on TikTok. Can you confirm that, in fact, the Hawaiian pizza was invented on Canada? Because the Canadian show does a live stream, and he basically has all this Canadiana. It's Canadian knowledge.
Yeah.
So let's address one of his questions. Do I call 911 if I think someone is drinking and driving? Absolutely. A suspected impaired driver is absolutely a call to 911. It is an emergency because that impaired driver could kill or harm themselves or somebody else on the road. It is absolutely an urgent call for police interaction or response. That's what I'm looking for. And I did see that the Canadian show responded and confirmed that, yes, indeed, Ryan Pinn is correct. He just gave you kudos. Credit, Ryan. You know your stuff. Your Canadian stuff. what is this? Do traffic laws break a regular probation order? Probation is usually dealing with criminal stuff. Mind you, keep the peace and be a good behavior is usually one of the lines. Could a traffic law be considered? I think if you get into stunt driving, maybe, possibly. I've never seen that. I've never been involved with anything there, but I think that you can make the stretch if you wanted to. How about in Washington? Do you see?
For criminal offenses, it would. Yeah, so any criminal related, reckless driving, DUI, anything else that's criminal driving related.
We have a question here about what division do you work out of? Well, it's a great opportunity for me to reintroduce myself and say that my name is Shapiro. I'm a police officer with the Toronto Police Service. I'm actually assigned to the Traffic Services Unit, which is a citywide traffic unit. We handle all investigations related to collisions, to deaths related to vehicles. We investigate or we enforce the Highway Traffic Act. We have special units like the Division Zero Enforcement Team. We have the Recon Unit, which deals specifically with those big major investigations where they reconstruct things, because they're called the Recon Reconstructionists. We have the Motor Squad, and we just happen to know things about things that roll. Like even trains, we know stuff about them. We have photographers. We do lots of stuff. But yeah, traffic services, citywide unit, and I work out of the Traffic Safety Programs Office, which deals with both the education components, which is what we're doing here, as well as media relations. We deal with mainstream media. And tomorrow we're going to be on the Jerry Agar show on News Talk 1010. Hey, buddy. We are on the air, but we have YYZ Traffic PC. Is that correct? Did I just say that correctly? Yeah, he is in the studio. Very cool. Hello. So as I was just saying, I don't know what I was saying. Moving on. Way to distract. No, that's good. I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. He was totally distracting me. Okay. What else do I need to talk about that today? Did you know that if you are involved in a collision that doesn't require police to attend, but does require reporting, that you can attend a collision reporting center in the city of Toronto? Now, if you're in a car, you've got 2 choices. But if you're a pedestrian or cyclist, you have 3. We actually have a collision reporting center that only services pedestrians and cyclists. It's located right here at 9 Hannah at the front lobby. And they are set up so that you can actually do the first part of your collision report online. They have a website. You can do it online, and you simply have to complete it here, verify your identification, and be on your way. It's a really cool system. It's brand new. It's been around for a little while, but it's still really new because not everybody knows about it. So if you are involved in a collision and you're a cyclist or a pedestrian, you now have 3 options. Things you didn't know but now know. How do I buy a used car off of Facebook Marketplace? With caution. I don't know. Buying used is listen, buying anything from anyone that isn't a reputable dealer has potential issues. And I don't know how it is in the States, but you're buying privately. So whether it's online, you're at some point, you still have to meet up with them. You still have to do a transfer of title. And that involves, in the province of Ontario, going to an Ministry of Transportation office or a Service Ontario office to facilitate that. You need a used car package. If you're importing it, there's a whole different amount of things. If you're importing something out of the States or vice versa, if someone was in Canada importing to the USA, I imagine there's a ton of different paperwork things they'd have to do and get someone to facilitate that importation. Yeah. Taxes and duties being one of them.
Yeah.
I think for at least for coming into Canada, I think it's 15 years, and then you don't have to deal with quite as much. But it still requires someone to do something beyond that of just showing up and saying, "I bought a car." What is the rule with trucks that have wide wheels? Something we didn't talk about yesterday, which is cool. If your vehicle has tires that protrude from the body, they may be improper. They may require mud flaps because the HTA says so. And ultimately, if it's going to create rooster tails where it sprays water or debris, there's a law that you're violating if it's too big. If you are, I've seen tires that are completely outside of the body. They have to be covered by a fender or fender flare to protect everybody, as well as pedestrians. If you were to drive past somebody and you clip them with that giant tire that's protruding from the body, you would suck them up into the car. You would hurt them. You could kill them.
Yeah,
it's unsafe. Would it be the same in Washington?
Yeah, 100%. Splash aprons have to be the width of the tire and then go down to at least midway to the center of the wheel well.
I've never heard the word splash apron or title.
I think that's what it's actually called in the RCW, the Revised Code of Washington. I think it's called a splash apron, but mud flap is what we call it.
Okay. Good. New words are good. I like new words. Is 10 over the speed limit illegal? Why, yes, it is. Because the speed limit is actually the limit. And anything over it, well, that's speeding. So 10 over is speeding by 10 kilometers over the speed limit. And the number of kilometers over is simply used to determine how much money you owe. But the fact that you've committed the offense of speeding, it's speeding. 1 kilometer over. Do you ever pull anybody over for a mile over?
I have, but it was because of adverse weather conditions, and everyone was going 10 under. And then you had the one guy coming down the street going 11 over, or excuse me, going 1 over, which was 11 miles per hour faster than the
miles,
rest of the motoring public.
Miles is more. 1.6 kilometers per mile. So, that's actually a lot.
Yeah. It just gets down to the safety, right? If the weather conditions are that bad that it's a sheet of ice and everyone else is driving super slow, we need to slow down. We need to be careful.
Very often people will say, well, it's icy, it's snowy. If I run a red light because I can't stop, am I at fault?
Yes.
Yeah.
You're going too fast for conditions.
Well, that's it. That's exactly it. Well, it's funny that a cop knows the answer to that. the deal is, and by the way, the voice that you're hearing, that is not mine. When you hear a voice and my lips aren't moving, that happens to be Chris, who's a police officer from Washington State, who's visiting with me today. He was here yesterday. He's here today. It's awesome. He's going home tomorrow. We'll miss him, but we get to talk cop for another show. And the deal is that, yeah, driving according to the conditions. If it's so slippery and icy that you can't stop your vehicle, you shouldn't be driving.
Yeah.
You pull over, wait, go home, don't leave. Call in sick, call in snow. Can you call in snow?
Not as a police officer, I can't. I got to get to work. Now I can call my boss and say I'm going to be a half hour late, right? I mean,
right.
We have to get there safely.
But you're no good to anybody if you don't come home safe.
100%.
What is the hardest area to enforce traffic? Do you mean like geographic area within the city or area of the Highway Traffic Act? I don't know. I don't know what you mean. I don't know. I don't even know if there's a hardest area. Wherever we go, we enforce what we see, and whatever we see is what we enforce. There's nothing hard about it, except people generally don't want to accept that certain activities are wrong or unsafe. Like there's a general acceptance or belief that speeding is acceptable to a certain degree. And what we see on our highways is like 20 to 30 kilometers over. People think it's like, whatever. It's okay. It's not okay. We know that statistically, as you increase your speed over the posted speed limit, you are increasing your odds of becoming involved in a collision. And of course, we know scientifically that if you are involved in a collision and you are traveling faster, you will have more serious injury, damage, and risk of death. So this is not hard to. So it's hard for people to comprehend because they want to get to where they're going and they don't want to wait. Impatience. I think we have a big problem with entitlement
and impatience.
Yeah.
I think us as human beings, we're used to being able to get our hamburger in 5 minutes or less and our coffee immediately. And
instant.
Right?
It's the K-cup of driving.
Yeah.
I
feel it myself sometimes, right? And I have to remind myself, take a breath.
Yeah.
Be patient.
One of the number one things that I suggest to people for traffic safety is plan ahead and give yourself tons of extra time. I even go so far as to say you should put your clothes out the night before so you don't have to think about it in the morning. Because anything you can do the night before when you are not stressed is stress you don't have to experience in the morning.
Yeah.
Just saying. Is it an offense to have your dog stick his head out the window of a car? No. It's not healthy for them, though. It's not. It's actually not good for your dog. It dries out their schnoz. And pet people have told me that it's actually unhealthy. I like pets. I don't have any pets, so and I'm certainly not a vet. Just saying.
Yeah.
No, I've not been a veterinarian.
I didn't know that it wasn't healthy. It sounds like it makes sense.
And I actually can't confirm or deny the fact, but that's what I've been told. So I'm regurgitating information. And that being said, they should be tethered. They should be in the back seat. And beyond that, I don't really have a concern. I mean, the dogs seem to like it. Like, oh my gosh, I smell everything all at once. Oh my gosh, they just happy dog. Have you ever pulled over a Tesla? Many times. Oddly enough, more often than not, the Tesla driver had their cell phone in their hands. Don't know why. They thought they were exempt from handheld communication laws. And they've usually said, well, I wasn't driving. It was an autopilot. But guess what, folks? Autopilot is still driving. You are the driver even when autopilot is engaged because autopilot is not autonomy. It is simply a driver assistance feature. Even with the new full self-driving, that's not autonomous mode. That is a guided mode. and you have to key in, you have to touch the steering wheel. And if you crash, you're responsible. And if you're using your cell phone, you get the ticket. And if you're impaired as a driver, you get arrested. Nothing changes. And I've seen some video of. Have you seen full self-driving mode videos?
Not like someone producing themselves. I mean, I've seen like the Tesla, on their website and stuff.
The real world beta testing of full self-driving looks like sort of what it looks like when my daughter first learned how to use a crayon. It's driving slowly. It's trying to decide what lane to be on. I don't think it's a beta, folks.
Yeah.
It's not ready for, full scale use. And there are people who believe, whether they want to believe or they truly believe or they're just being positive, I don't know. It's not production ready.
Yeah.
That's why it's a beta. Why do I get the parking ticket even after paying? I am not a parking guru, but I imagine you're getting a parking ticket for failing to display it appropriately, or you're not parked where you're supposed to be parked, or there's some other issue. Like when I recently got a parking ticket. I got a parking ticket. I mentioned this yesterday, and it bugs me that I got a parking ticket. Why? Because I thought I was doing the right thing, but I wasn't. I was actually too close to an intersecting road. I didn't know. I'm not a parking person, and that's why I called Aaron. And Aaron told me, "Oh yeah, you're good," but I didn't know. I didn't even tell her about how close I was in proximity to the corner because I didn't think it was a thing. Okay.
So what did you do since you got it? Yeah, you took care of your business.
Well, you see, as a police officer, as someone who's like trying to be a good example,
yeah,
I was wrong. What am I going to do? Go fight it? I was wrong. What would I say? I was wrong. I did the wrong thing, but I shouldn't be held responsible because, no, I paid it. It was $50.
Yeah. I got a speeding ticket as a police officer. Not while I was working, but yeah.
Terrible.
And it was my fault.
How do you sleep at night?
I was lost, and I wasn't paying attention. And then I saw the motor cop, and I thought, I can pull over and ask him. And then I looked down at my speed, and I went, yep, I'm going to be pulling over all right. So.
And he didn't just say, hey, you look familiar. You have a haircut that looks like a cop.
I was actually on the way to test with that agency. This is when I was first getting out of the military, becoming a police officer. So I was going to take the polygraph at his agency. So I said lots of yes, sirs, and I got my ticket, and I went and told the polygraph examiner, hey, I just got a ticket. Certain that he was going to dismiss me. He didn't. It was my only ticket. So, I mean,
okay,
they weren't too terribly concerned. Yeah.
I imagine you were slightly under some stress at that point.
I was under a lot of stress.
Yeah.
Who gets a ticket on the way to a job interview?
For a police
at the place where you're going to test.
But not just a test, at a police department.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that story. What do we have here? Transferring from Peel Police to Summerside Police in Prince Edward Island. Any tips from transitioning to a small town policing? I am big city police. I don't know. You and I have probably more in common than either one of us have with a small town policing. But have you worked for a bigger agency and come to a smaller agency?
I went from a 67 officer agency to, at the time, 99. Now it's 108. I think anytime you go into somewhere new, you go in with a good attitude. You listen, right? You learn new processes. You bring your character with you. But other than that, I mean, my guess is if it's a smaller town, you're going to be building relationships. You're going to know community members by name versus a big city where you don't have that small town feel.
I think that you're going to have some adjusting to do.
100%.
Yeah, I imagine
different pace.
Yeah, you're probably dealing with a slower speed. And I know people who have transitioned from the Toronto Police to the OPP have found it's slower. People like you. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
Do you ever pull people over for illegal mods? Depends on the mods, but yes, obviously if they're illegal, I would pull them over because they're illegal. If you were saying mods in general, no, mods that are legal aren't an issue. But if it's illegal and I see it's illegal, then I pull them over because that's my job as a police officer. It's to enforce the Highway Traffic Act and to ensure vehicles on the road are compliant with the law and safe. Safety being the primary thing. A lot of people accuse us. They say, you're just a tax collector. You're just here to feed the coffers for the government, keep the wheels of industry moving. I'm sad to say that I don't see any of that money. The police service really doesn't directly see any money. If it was trying to get a free toaster or a trip to Hawaii,
doesn't happen.
I've never. There's no quotas. I don't get a bonus if I hit a certain number. I haven't even gotten a medal. There's nothing. I just get to know that I'm doing my job to make the road safe. So, yeah, I pull people over for anything that I see that's illegal because I'm that guy. And whether you like that, I'm that guy or not, I can't help you. But I do pull people over for breaking the law.
Here's the deal. No one likes tickets. When I got my ticket, I didn't like it. But guess what? I drive different today than I did when I got that ticket. I'm a lot more aware, and I don't get caught up in whatever busyness in my head because I don't want to get another ticket. I drive safer now because of the enforcement that was taken on me.
It's amazing how that works. And it's funny because I was thinking about that this morning on the way in. Someone said that this was a comment from yesterday's video when people were losing their mind over an unmarked vehicle. They said that I've had tickets and I still drive the same way. It didn't work on me. But how many people did it work on? Because while it may not have worked on that individual may still choose to be a silly person and drive unsafely, knowing that it's unsafe, choosing to engage in that behavior regardless of all the warnings that it kills people and hurts people. But it didn't work on that. I imagine that 99% of the drivers out there, just the knowledge that they could get a ticket is enough to keep them following the law and thus making the road safe. And we only have to worry about the couple of people who choose to engage in that behavior regardless of the tickets.
Yeah.
But I thought that was very interesting. It made me think about that. How do you gauge prevention? Very often we get asked about our automated speed enforcement. We have cameras that will do speed enforcement and red light enforcement. Well, how do we know if it's working? Because the same people we've had people 12 and 13 times they've been ticketed by the same camera. They're obviously not getting the hint. But it's only that guy who's going through 12 and 13 times. Most people are not getting caught, which means that I think they are doing their job.
Yeah. And actually, the Washington State Traffic Safety Commission, they can pull the numbers to see how many people are getting a second ticket. And it's really, really, really low, meaning the red light cameras are working. It's causing people to change their driving behavior to where it's safer.
Now, in Washington State, do you have cameras all over the place, or is it only in relation to schools? Do you have them in your jurisdiction?
It's up to municipalities, but there is a state law that governs based on the size of your city, how many cameras you can have. And so there are some restrictions. I don't know all of them. I was recently at their traffic safety conference, and I heard them talking about it, but some of that information was new to me. We don't have them in our city. Our city council doesn't like them. And so we have to use police officers, traffic officers to go out there and enforce traffic law.
I see. I like that because there's a difference, and I'll tell you why. But I'm trying to get Sergeant Campbell's attention. I don't know if he can hear me. He's talking to somebody. But I see a question that's a question for him. Hey, Sergeant Campbell. I got a question that's coming up. It just happens to be yours, and I don't know the answer.
Okay. I'm in the meeting.
Okay, bye. He's in a meeting. What's the age to ride a dirt bike or snowmobile on road with a dirt bike? You can't, but snowmobile where it's legal?
Can't go on the road either.
Not even on the side in certain municipalities?
Nope.
I thought there were places you could.
You can cross the road at 90 degrees, and you have to be 16 years old.
16 years old.
And you have to have a driver's license.
Okay, so snowmobile, no, dirt bike is zero zilch nada. You can't be on the road; they're not legal.
Yep.
And for snowmobiles, they have to be plated. The driver has to be licensed. They have to be crossing at a 90-degree angle, and 16 licensed crossing the road 90-degree angle.
Cannot drive down a road unless it's a closed road for use only.
Okay.
ATVs, where permittable,
ATVs where permittable.
they have to have a G2 or better.
G2 or better driver's license. So they have to be at least 16. So at the end of the day, age is 16. And that's Ontario. Could be different in other jurisdictions. Thank you very much, Sergeant Campbell. You see, we just disrupt life everywhere in this office when we do what we do. Ryan Pinn, this is a comment that's a few minutes old, and he likes to point out the word maximum on speed limit signs to his students when he's teaching driving, because that word has meaning. And it's easy to find the answer to that. It's just like the word entrapment, which many people were throwing around. Some people spelled it entrapment, many people incorrectly spelled it. Some people used hyphens, entrapment, and suggested that speed enforcement was entrapment. And I suggested they Google the word too, because Google's a powerful thing.
It is.
Often we thought about changing the name of the show from Ask a Traffic Cop to things you could have Googled yourself, but I appreciate, and I say that in jest because really we do explain things and take it to another level. But it does help. Google is a great thing. When we're not on the air, try Google first.
Right. I love people asking the question, right? Because if it can prevent them from getting a ticket because they ask the question, right, and modify either their behavior, their equipment on their car, it's better for everybody.
Well, I got to say, the people who watch this show, they're special. I don't mean special in a bad way. I mean special in a good way. They're taking time to invest of their own time to know stuff that other people don't know.
Yeah.
You can be the best, brightest, traffic knowledgeable person at a party. You will have lineups. People want to talk to you. Yes, you could be. We're going to write a book about how to get more friends and influence people the traffic way.
I like it.
I'm sad somebody does.
I don't know if anyone's going to buy it.
I don't think so. You should do the self-publishing, but no. Eating while driving, is it distracted driving? Well, first off, is it distracted driving where you are?
No.
It's not distracted driving here. Distracted driving laws are specific to handheld communication devices, entertainment devices, or screen visible to user. Even if your friend's using Instagram and they go, "Hey, look at this picture of whatever," those are distracted driving. I hate that. Did you hear that in your headphones too?
Yeah, I thought it was magic.
It was magic. I don't like getting notifications, and I can't turn them off. Ooh, yeah, it bugs me. So the answer to the question is it's not distracted driving. However, careless driving is something we would lay if you were picking your nose in such a way that it prevented you from safely operating your motor vehicle, it's careless driving.
Yeah, for us, it's called negligent driving, but same thing.
While picking nose specifically, or?
No, like if you get involved in a wreck or do something dangerous while doing some other activity other than,
Well, drinking water while driving is not illegal, but if you do it in such a way like your eyes are closed, you're just into that water, you're responsible for whatever you do in your motor vehicle. Can I get out of my car during a traffic stop? Well, that opens up a discussion that has all sorts of different directions. If you're directed to, great. If you're not directed to, don't do anything a police officer doesn't tell you to do. Getting out of your vehicle may be interpreted as a sign of aggression. You may be escalating that conversation into places you don't want to go. Because an officer is very much giving you direction at that point. You are stopping for a purpose. If you want to get something out of the trunk because that's where your license is, then you say, "Officer, my license is in the trunk. Would you mind if I get out to do that?" And take direction from that police officer. Bad things happen when you don't. Also, very often we're pulling you over in a place that's unsafe for you to get out of the vehicle. We're wearing a yellow vest. We're blocking the road with our vehicle. We have lights, and we're also, that's where we work. We're aware of what's happening. We don't want you to go get hurt.
No.
And we don't want to have to end up getting into a physical altercation, which things happen. But yeah, I imagine same thing for you.
Yeah, and I like to relate it to if I get pulled over, I'm going to pull over to the side of the road. I'm going to immediately signal, get over as soon as it's safe to. I'm going to keep my hands on the steering wheel invisible. And if I'm going to reach for anything inside the car, once the officer's up there, I'm going to tell them first, "Hey, I'm going to reach into my glove box to get the registration or insurance or whatever else."
And people listening, and they know that, having heard that you're from the United States, say, "Oh, that makes sense because people have guns in the States." It's not different here in Canada. Yeah, there may not be legal guns, but we don't want to see anybody reaching for anything. I suggest that if you're at night, turn on the interior lights and wait. Wait. We're not in a rush. We want to be safe. We want you to be safe, and you just amp up the situation. And it's suspicious if you start digging around the car. So we get concerned, and then things proceed based on that. Can you drive a car with no front bumper? Well, front bumper is part of the safety required parts. I'm thinking about features. It's a feature that's required. You can't safety a vehicle without one, so it would be an unsafe vehicle without one. You can't be on the road. Same for you?
Same. Yep. Bumpers required.
I like it. I like it a lot. And one of the major reasons for bumpers is to protect pedestrians. Which people say, "Well, what do you mean? You're hitting them with a car. It's going to hurt." Yeah, but you can't, very often it's keeping them from going under the vehicle. They're designed to throw people over the vehicle, not under. We don't want anyone to hit anybody with anything, but you definitely need front bumper, and rear bumpers are good too. Bumpers in general, they're good. Get your bumpers now.
Keep the stuff on the car that it was made to have, right?
Well, some people say, "Well, I dented it, I broke it," or whatever the case may be, and they can't get a new one, or you gotta have one.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got here. We have a question that says, "My dirt doesn't have papers. Is it illegal?" I think you mean dirt bike. I think I just deleted the one that just said bike. My dirt bike doesn't have papers. Is it illegal? If you own something, it's a motor vehicle. I think you got to have papers for it, at least if it's a plated vehicle. If you're talking about an off-road only vehicle, I don't know enough about the Off-Road Vehicle Act and ownership and stuff for those. At the end of the day, dirt bikes in general, not legal on the road in Ontario. So very often we're not going to be investigating it. But if you're on the road, that's a problem. Do you have a lot of off-road vehicles? Your neck of the
over the last couple years, we really saw a spike and increase in them, both side-by-sides and ATVs, and they're not legal unless they've gone through and become licensed by the Department of Licensing and have turn signals and a speedometer and all that kind of stuff. But the ones that were being driven there for a while, didn't have any of that. So,
Do you have e-bikes, electric bicycles in your jurisdiction?
Yeah.
Are they legal?
yes.
Do they have any limitations, or because what we're seeing here is we have some very strict rules that take an electric motorcycle essentially, and for the purposes of law, and give it an exemption to be considered a bicycle,
Yeah.
and it can be no heavier than 120 kilos, except for a pilot right now for cargo bikes. It cannot have a motor more powerful than 500 watts, and it cannot exceed 32 kilometers an hour on a flat surface.
And we have similar restrictions. I'm not sure what they are. I was going to say it was a CC rating in reference to the size of the motor that's on it, but I could be wrong. Yeah.
So there are restrictions because when we see a lot of people who are modifying ours, and Sergeant Campbell saw one on our highway doing 90 kilometers
Oh my gosh.
a bicycle.
That's not safe.
Well, it's a bicycle. It's sold as a bicycle, but it looks like a motorcycle.
Okay.
But it has pedals, so they say it's an e-bike, so they don't pay insurance, they don't have a license, but they're driving it as a motor vehicle.
So do you have to have insurance for motorcycles?
Motorcycles, yes.
Okay, we don't.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Correct.
Wow.
Yep. All other vehicles you're required to, but
But a motorcycle,
but
like
not
the one that has the
motorcycles.
highest risk associated to it.
Yep. And I don't know if it comes back to for our insurance, you're required to have liability.
Okay, but not comprehensive.
You don't have to have comprehensive
So-
for your car.
So let me rephrase.
So you have to cover other people, but not yourself.
On the motorcycle?
None.
Nothing.
None on the motorcycle. No insurance
Wow.
required.
Well, here, of course, you must have liability, and comprehensive is optional and more expensive.
Yeah.
But you still have to have liability coverage on a motorcycle. You can still kill someone on a motorcycle.
Well, and you could still damage. You drive into someone else's car. You're the one that's going to get more hurt. But if you're the at-fault driver and now this other person's car isn't going to work, that's a problem.
We have to do this. When you go back home, we got to do this on a regular because this is fascinating. Really, wow. Okay. What information shows up on a plate check? So very simply, when we run a plate in Ontario, we see the registered owner, we see anything it's involved with, if it was ticketed, we'll see hits back on the registered owner. So if there's anything criminal related, if they're wanted, if there's a flag on the vehicle, but then we have to actually do some digging to find out more. But generally speaking, it's the vehicle owner registration, whether its plate is valid, and anything major that might be blinking. But it's basic stuff, and then we start the investigation. We look into further, and this is before we even get out of the car usually, to investigate the driver. So that's why when you're pulled over, you're not seeing us run up to the front and going, "Hi." We're actually taking a minute or two to do our due diligence to find out, is this person possibly being pulled over previously and having weapons or violence, or what do we need to know so we can be safe and you can be safe, because unknowns are bad. But it's a good question. We don't get many questions about police procedure. We usually get more traffic stuff, so I like it when we get stuff like that. Do I need post-secondary to become a cop? Well, Bella, the answer is it's good to have, but it's not a necessity. We will take applications from people. The minimum requirements are grade 12, which is a high school or a secondary school diploma. Post-secondary being college or university are pluses, especially if you've got time on your hands. Like if you've been out of high school for 6 years and you've done nothing, you haven't worked, you haven't gone to school, that's a big gap. We'd like to know what you were doing. If you went to the military for that time, you had employment and you were getting on-the-job training, or you were getting some kind of life experience, then not going to university may not be an issue. But you should have something, work or education, but continuous responsibility every day.
Yeah. Same is true for us. It changes based on the agency. There are some that require a college degree. We don't, but we're looking at the same stuff. What have you been doing with your life, whether it be in volunteerism, work history? We want to see someone who's a good team player and is going to go, join our team and go out and serve the community. So
there's a lot of learning involved with becoming a police officer. It's not just badging a gun and go out and enforce the law. And no, it's actually 6 months of training and then a lifetime of training, because your entire career is courses and development. And so if you don't do well in an education environment, if you're not picking up what we're putting down, or you're not capable of it because you just didn't do well in school, well, then we're probably not interested in hiring someone who's not going to do well in this environment.
Now, I will say I've seen people that didn't do great in high school, right? And they graduated with C's, right?
Yeah.
And then they've gone on to excel to be great police officers, great firefighters. and a lot of it came down to they just didn't have the motivation when they were young.
Well, yeah.
And now they do, and now they're going to apply themselves. And
My strongest courses were business courses.
Yeah.
I understood it. I jive with me. It made sense. And math wasn't my thing. So my scores were lower there and higher in other areas. It depends. Motivation's huge. Policing, obviously. I think I could have gone through the police college with my eyes closed because I was so interested in it. I absorbed it all like a sponge. Some people were racking their heads trying to study, and I got it. So I didn't find the academic side of it very difficult. Running, however, was never my thing.
yeah,
So I struggled with running. I don't like running. Don't make me run. Are loud sound systems illegal? Loud sound systems. If you're creating unnecessary noise, whether it be your exhaust system, whether it be your engine, any loud noise emitting from your vehicle could be unnecessary noise in Ontario. How about by you?
yeah. Same in the States, both with stereo systems and then also with a modified exhaust. So
Well, for us, the modified exhaust, a defective exhaust, or just the behavior. If you choose to drive at red line when doing 20 kilometers an hour, you're going to create a lot of noise, and it's unnecessary to the safe operation of that vehicle. I like saying it in that way. Do you have to meet a quota of stops or tickets? LA wants to know. I love the question. We get it all the time. The answer is no. I may start my day with the intention of writing as many tickets as I can because I'm motivated to write as many as I can. I just want to make the road safer. So every day was, let's see, personal challenge. Can I write 25? Could I write 50? I've never written 50 in a day, but I would try. It's a goal. I want to get better than last day. But then I pull someone over, and they're good for 12 charges, an arrest, an impoundment of their vehicle. And that's half my day. So I take the investigations take my day where they go. And it's just like that. But I don't get a free toaster for hitting 50. And it's funny. I often said when people would challenge me at the side of the road, say, "You're just doing this to meet your quota." I'm like, no. I asked my sergeant, I can write as many as I want. and I didn't know where I got that. It's from Chips.
oh, was that from
Frank
Chips?
Poncherello used that line. He says, "I asked my sergeant, and he told me I could just write as many as I want."
Yes.
Chips is the best show to ever be on television. You heard it here. The 70s and 80s, they made real TV.
It was great.
I wonder how many police officers were direct, or how many people are directly or were directly influenced to become police officers by that show alone.
Yeah.
Because tons of people.
I think it improved the relationships, honestly, with the community and police as well, right? Because it gave the community these examples of some guys that were out there working hard, had a good sense of humor, and were there to help the community, right? But they were also going to write you tickets too.
Yeah, they were doing the right thing. They were helping people, doing the right thing. They gave people breaks. They were fair. I like it.
Yeah.
Can you get a ticket for running a fake stop sign?
A fake stop sign.
I've never seen a fake stop sign other than the one that's up on the wall behind me, because that's made of corrugated plastic and meant for a show booth. And because it's not a regulated sign, it's not posted in accordance with any law, it would be fake. But it's hard to run this. It's attached to my wall.
So I wonder, if a neighborhood decided to erect a stop sign of their own, would that maybe be a fake stop sign?
Yeah.
Yeah. In Washington traffic law, the stop sign, the size of it is regulated. And so, if some neighborhood decided to throw one up because they wanted everyone to stop at some crosswalk or something, it wouldn't be a lawful stop sign. You wouldn't have to stop at it, I guess.
Yeah, but how would you know? The truth is, stop for stop sign.
Yeah. Don't try to problem solve whether that one's a rule or not. Just stop. Look both ways.
Officer, I didn't stop for that one because it looked fake to me.
Yeah.
Not a defense.
Good point.
Not a defense. What is this? We have a question that says, would the hiring process be better for a soldier? Would the hiring process be easier for a soldier? It's the process.
Same process.
And you get points. At least we here. And if you fill enough boxes, you might score higher than the person who has fewer boxes. And if there was one position and two of you, then that might be better for you. However, you may not have a doctorate, but we've hired somebody who is a doctor. They may have more points than you. Fortunately for you, right now we're hiring, which means there's probably 2 spots for 2 people or 4 spots for 4 people if you can pass the requirements. So this might be the best time in recent history for becoming a police officer. There's many people who don't want to be police officers, and we need good people who want to do the job. So if you're interested in becoming a Toronto police officer, www.tps.ca/careers. And on that website, you will have all the information for not only uniform police roles, but civilian roles, uniform civilian roles, and we even have like IT. We are an amazingly large organization with many job opportunities, and it is a career with many jobs, because you may start like I did as a volunteer, as an auxiliary officer, volunteering. I had so much fun. Within a month or two, I applied to become a court officer, I should say, which is a special constable. It was responsible for prisoner management, movement, and courtroom security or courthouse security. I did that for a number of years, became a sergeant in the auxiliary, became a supervisor in courts, and transitioned 12 years later to police constable. And I've been doing the police constable role for 10 years, but I've got 22 years with the service. So I've had many different experiences, and they've all worked together to make me a better person. A better employee, a better, more rounded, skilled person with different skill sets. So great opportunities. And agencies in your neck of the woods, they're hiring too.
100%, yeah. Across Washington State, most agencies, not all, but most are looking for great people to join the team. So it's a great time to become a police officer. Pays well.
Yes. Many people don't realize, and I don't know if it's the same for you, but our service pays you to get trained.
Yes.
We hire people, and I believe it's about approximately $67,000 for the period of time while you're a cadet, and when you get out, you're over $70,000 very quickly. And over the 4 years, once you've done 4, or maybe it's 5 by the time you're done years, you're looking at a $107,000, $105,000, some odd $1,000. It's all in the information on the website. Again, tps.ca/careers. You heard it here. Well, maybe not first, but you certainly heard it here. Good morning. Are you allowed to accelerate the pass? Yes, but you're not allowed to speed to pass. Accelerating and speeding are not synonymous. Accelerating above the speed you were traveling, if under the speed limit, is perfectly legal. But you cannot speed beyond the speed limit.
In Washington State, you can.
No way!
Yes. So what it says is if the vehicle in front of you is moving slower than the speed limit, you're allowed to exceed the speed limit for a reasonable period of time to overtake them. You're still governed by reckless driving and negligent driving, meaning if you do something and it causes an accident in the process, you could still be charged with those charges.
I'm shocked.
I was actually getting ready to do a TikTok just on that, and I didn't realize that we were allowed to, in Washington State, exceed the speed limit.
By how much?
It doesn't say. It throws words like reasonable in there. And
those are dangerous words.
Yeah.
We do not, for the folks watching in Ontario, we do not have words like reasonable when describing the speed.
It's just really simple.
It is simple.
There's a number.
You don't go over the speed limit. Oddly enough, many drivers in Ontario don't know what speed limit means. They don't know what maximum means. They choose to drive above the speed limit on a daily basis. It drives me bananas. I don't understand it. And yet, many people do it anyway. Mob mentality. If he goes fast, I can go fast too. All right. In the United States, what is the cause of most traffic stops? I don't have this question, but I can defer to you, who probably doesn't have a question for covering the entire answer of the United States.
Yeah, it'd be hard for me to. I'm going to say speed, just because that's usually the most significant contributing factor to collisions. But that would be too hard for me to say for each jurisdiction. So
yeah, it's such a unique number, and everywhere is different. But you know, we stop for anything we see that's illegal. So I couldn't say what people see more often. I mean, I think in Toronto for a long time, the most frequent stop was probably going to be an expired license plate sticker, because it's an easy stop. You'd see it, you'd pull someone over, you'd have a conversation. Oddly enough, that would usually lead to a ticket, or a ticket and an arrest, because people drive, bad people drive too, and some of them don't renew their license plates. But the one in terms of traffic safety oriented stops, I think, is without question speeding. I would say about 50% of our stops are speed related.
yeah.
And that's an estimate, but whatever. Are speed camera tickets on your record? Well, not your record as a driver, but on the record of no, it's not even on a record. There's no record, because it just gets, there's no record for the driver because their driver's license isn't involved. Excuse me. And it goes to the registered owner. And I don't think that there's when we search a plate, that we see a history of speed camera or red light camera associated. I don't think we do. I don't know that we do or don't, but I don't think that we do. Bo. What's the fastest you have pulled over? I don't recall.
It's been north of 100 for me, 100 miles per hour.
So that's over 160. I've had flyers up that high. I know that the fastest that I've heard about in the news is like 302 or 305 kilometers.
Oh my gosh.
You know, and then we had someone like doing 240 or something on our local highway, which is 90 kilometers an hour, and they were also they were also impaired. So you're just adding fuel to fire bad.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't keep a scoreboard. To me, it's not about who gets the highest speed. Because I'm not someone who only pulls people over for doing X number of kilometers over. I pull people over for speeding. That could be 15 over. In fact, 15 over in a 60 is 25% over. That's a perfect speed range that's not just, 5 over. Okay, maybe there was some issues. Like 5 over is like 2.5 miles. Like that could be an issue with your speedometer not being accurate. I'm not going to focus on that. I'm looking for people. But 15 over in a 60, you're mine all day long. But for some other officers, they say, okay, I only want to pull people over for 20 over. Whatever. It's not regulated. It's whatever you think is appropriate. Yeah. What is this? Red light cam sliding into, not through, due to icing gauge camera. Are you issued a ticket? If you cross the line, the camera will click it, and you will get a ticket. I like it.
That was great. You rhymed.
I rhymed. Will Bob wants to know, will stricter gun laws fix gun-related crimes? I think it's being said in the media a lot, by police chiefs a lot, that taking guns away from legal gun owners won't change gun crime. That is not me speaking, although I concur. Chiefs of police and it's the news. They've said this isn't going to fix anything. But it's not them making the law. What do we have here? What kind of mods do you pull over for? All of the illegal ones. That's it. That's the simple answer. There's a ton of them. If we hear it or see it or think that it may be offending, we'll pull it over and inspect it. And I imagine it's the same for you guys.
Help me out with mods. Are we talking about vehicle modifications?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah, they're mods here.
Okay.
Sometimes there are people who wear certain types of slacks, but the mods with certain hair. Isn't that a hairstyle? Like the mods were a thing in the 60s.
Sounds way too cool for me to know.
Yeah, we're not that cool. Do you do patrolling or just to media relations? For moi, I am just a media relations officer, and I am just a media relations officer because I was injured in 2018 in a motorcycle crash. I used to be a member of the motor squad. Was hit when I was on my motorcycle. Went for a short flight. Takeoff not so bad. Landing sucked, and as a result, I am not on the road, and I don't know when or if I will be able to return to it. I do hope to get qualified again. I miss being out there and issuing tickets and making a difference in a different way. Although I have to say that I really do appreciate what I'm doing here. This, being a media relations officer, being able to help and answer questions from you, the public, have really, really given me new value. I feel more fulfilled. When I was just shuffling paper, I wasn't having a good time. But I have a good time doing this because I care about you, and I want you to be safe and not get tickets for things you didn't understand were ticketable. Because not everybody gets tickets for breaking the law intentionally. They get tickets for breaking the law when they just didn't understand the law. Like me, who got a ticket for being too close to an intersection. It's like I have an issue, and that's bugging me.
No, yeah. You're helping people become ticket proof. If they're listening,
yeah,
and processing and taking this in, they're becoming ticket proof. It's good.
It's what was it? There was a book written like Bulletproof Mind, ticket proof license.
Yeah,
to make a new book.
Another book on that.
What a breach block says no record on speed cameras. Correct. Then breach block says maybe unless you don't pay it. The answer to that one is if you don't pay it, you're going to get into issues. You won't be able to renew your license or license plate, I should say. Oh, here we go. I've been ignoring volley for the entire show. Let me deal with some volley stuff. We have a question. Let me listen to this.
Charge on public property, like if a bunch of cars are parked in a Walmart parking lot revving their engines, is unnecessary noise an applicable charge or no?
So this was a question that Chase asked after the show yesterday. I got to turn that off. So this was, he's asking you specifically. Oh, wait. Oh, no, it's two different questions. Chase has two questions. The first question is, Walmart parking lot, I'm making a lot of noise. Can I get charged under the Highway Traffic Act for unnecessary noise? The answer is no, but there are bylaws for private property that you might be violating, and you might be trespassed. If you're making noise on the Walmart and the guy from Walmart comes out and says, get out, and you don't, now you're trespassed to property and you're looking at other charges, and it's not good.
Yeah, we have the same issue.
Now, the question from Chase is, are we going to do a podcast traffic jam episode? That remains to be, because it depends on what we're talking about. But we're sort of doing one right now, kind of, sort of.
Yeah.
But
Maybe in the future.
I like that.
We'll talk about it.
Yes. Michael says, what about impaired or dangerous driving? Criminal code. It has a problem with probation. So dangerous is criminal code, and criminal code would be an issue. We talked about that earlier. I'm sorry. This one came in a while ago, so it's I'm catching up. And Michael confirms that if it was an autonomous vehicle, it does not need driver controls. Yeah, truly autonomous would not require you to ever touch the wheel. Full self-driving does. It's something we were talking about earlier. Breach Blocked wants to know, do your enforcement officer use OBD2 readers? What's the authority to plug into a car if you do? Depends on what we're talking about. Like enforcement, we don't pull people over and do a dump of your car. If we are going to read your car, it's because it was involved in a major collision.
Yeah,
Recon stuff.
Yep. We have to get a search warrant for it.
We might have to do it as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not in that office. I've never been involved with it. But engine light on? Do we like checking it just to see if what codes you're blowing? Yeah, I don't think we're doing that. We're not doing that. We're talking about. He wants to know if we're doing it for modified engine components. We can do a visual inspection. We can get you to pop your hood and do an inspection, and if we see anything that looks incorrect, that violates any laws that we're aware of, then we would, either call in a next level expert or pull your plates for unsafe and have you go for a safety, depending on the situation. There's no fix-it tickets here. Do you have fix-it tickets?
No.
I don't understand this concept of fix-it tickets. If you broke the law today, you get a ticket today. If you fix it tomorrow, when you should have fixed it yesterday, you're still guilty. So I don't get it.
Yeah.
I am confused.
Well, and they take a lot of work. I've done it before where I've told someone, hey, can you get this fixed for me in a week? And then show me proof of, and all it does is creates more work for me. And then they usually don't do it. And then I have to mail them the ticket out instead. So if I'm going to write a ticket, I just write a ticket. If I'm going to give a verbal warning, because I think education is going to work, then I give a verbal warning.
And that's where it ends.
Yep.
And then when you see them again, it's and we do. I pull people over. Short story time. I pulled a guy over who gave me this sob story about how he is driving to pick his mom up because, I don't know, dad was out of the picture and he's the man of the house now and he's got to pick up mom who, working 2 jobs and he's this great kid and his license had either expired or the plate expired. And I said, you know what? Sounds like a good story. If you're lying to me, then your maker's going to be, dealing with you and I'm going to go to sleep just fine. And then a year later, almost to the day, I pull him over again. Guess what?
Same story.
Similar issue, same story.
Yeah.
And he got his ticket.
Yeah.
Same guy. What are the odds? In Toronto. What do we have here? What do we have here? We have like 2 minutes left in the show is what we have here. And then we've got to fly. Are big tires illegal even if they don't stick out? It's a good question. It depends. It depends, and this is the first time I'm saying depends today's show. I don't think I've used the word depends before, and once we say depends, it starts happening a lot. We say depends for everything, and it's a whole conversation about depends. But the answer to your tires are, if your tires are so big that they don't clear, they don't stick out, but you can't turn lock to lock because they create fender or body or frame contact, that's an unsafe vehicle. That's going to lose your license plates. So it depends because I need to see it in order to give you a real answer. David, David, I don't know how to pronounce your username because there's an extra A in David, who wants to know if cops are dirty in Toronto taking bribes. And I don't normally address questions like this, but this one's really silly. And I say it's really silly because I have no idea. But if I did find out that an officer was taking bribes, they would be a criminal and they'd get investigated. Because when you wear our uniform, you're representing all of us. And we're not bad people. There are bad people who somehow get through occasionally, but I think 99.99% of police officers, regardless of where on the planet, people who are dedicated to a life of service, protecting the community, working for the good, they're not looking to make $5 or get a free coffee. They're looking to make the streets safer for everybody, for their families, because they care.
We're working really hard to build strong relationships with our community, and some knucklehead who somehow got through the hiring process and now is a police officer is doing anything, not even criminal, just against policy or just being a jerk. He or she is not going to last very long.
No.
At least in the policing that I've been a part of, because the rest of us aren't going to tolerate it. We're going to report them,
Well, that's it.
And they're going to get fired or punished, and then they're going to change their behavior and start being a person of character.
We have found people in the past who I don't know about taking bribes, because I've never actually seen or heard of anyone actually saying, yeah, I'm not going to give you the speeding ticket for $10, or I can't even imagine what kind of bribe, how substantial. Like, you'd have to set me up for life for a speeding ticket to make it worth that I could lose my job and my career and it just would never even enter. Like, I'm stretching here trying to find a scenario that taking anything would be worthwhile.
Yeah, I think historically, at least in America, there were times that policing wasn't the professional police service that it is now. I've read some history books where, again, places where policing in America wasn't the same professionalism that it is now. So
it's a different world.
It is.
And aside from the fact that we are the most scrutinized profession, I think, on the planet, more so, I think, than doctors and lawyers, because everybody's after us. Yeah. If you do anything wrong, you're going to hear about it. Friends of mine have rolled stop signs, like in the heat of the moment while racing to go to a fight or gun or major call. They're responding. They roll the stop sign. When their videos are reviewed in their police cars, they got documented for 4, 8, or 16 hours of pay.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen in a community, in a police service that doesn't care about the rules. The rules are very important.
Yes.
Yes. I think that's like the perfect opportunity. Why am I getting like 5 emails in a row? I'm like, I hate that sound so much. You missed it. We did it early today because our special guest has a special destination that has to go to. But
You guys treat me too well.
Had to go to, so.
yes, we do have a time for a dad joke, though.
Oh, really?
Sergeant Campbell is here, so we have to read a dad joke. Did you hear about the restaurant on the moon? Great food, no atmosphere. That's actually a good one. Maybe what? You like that one? How do you tell the difference between a crocodile and an alligator? You will see one later and one in a while.
Ha ha ha. See you later,
That one took me a little
crocodile.
while.
Oh, yeah.
See you later, alligator.
Need pictures with crayon.
I told my wife she drew her eyebrows on too high. She seemed surprised. that was
And you're also going to be sleeping on the couch tonight.
yeah. Well, yeah, my wife doesn't draw her eyebrows. And I'm happy with that. To everyone who's watching, thank you so much for spending time with us. It's been a blast. It always is a blast. We'll be back tomorrow, and we're going to be on at 9:30 tomorrow. I had to think about that. Why are we going to be on at 9:30? Because we're joining the Jerry Agar Show on News Talk 1010. We'll do a half-an-hour segment with him and the community in Toronto in the radio, and then we'll continue with our regular Q&A until 11. So it's a long show tomorrow. Whether you want to... Well, here, you could probably can you text him in advance? I think you can, but just so you have it for tomorrow, I'll put it on screen. It's going to be 416-872-1010 to call into the radio show and 71010 to text them. But we'll be back tomorrow to do all that. Chris, it's been an absolute pleasure having you in the station for 2 days and on the show, and it's been fun chatting and discussing Washington versus Ontario law. I hope we can do it again soon, and even if not in person, definitely remotely. Yeah, it's been a blast, and we will sign off by saying, not watch. There's no watching this. This is listening to this song. Maybe we should have a live performance of it one day. It's going to go triple platinum.
I love the uke.
Take care, everybody. See you tomorrow.
Driving safely helps the traffic flow. Watch for pedestrians, look out for bikes, and don't drive like a jerk that no one likes. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Put down your cell phone, nobody needs you to text and drive on the DVP. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Stop at stop signs, look both ways, then go. Seatbelt save your life indeed, and watch your driving.
Don't speed.
Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Don't drink and drive, or smoke some weed, because you might go to jail and
Not get freed.
Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow.
I might have had too much fun. And with that, I say, don't have too much fun. Well, no, have fun, but drive sober and drive safe and park legally and, yeah, no drugs, no alcohol.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.